Hi everyone. A generator is one of those things you don't think about much until the lights go out, the fridge starts warming up, or you're sitting at a campsite wishing you had just a little more power. Today I'm sharing my experience with the ERAYAK 2400 watts portable inverter generator. And I've been using it in a few different situations. Around the house, for camping, for tools, and as a backup option when the power decides to disappear at the worst possible time. Right out of the box, the first thing I noticed was the size. It's compact enough that it doesn't feel like a huge piece of equipment taking over the garage. I can pick it up, move it around the yard, load it into a vehicle, and store it without needing help from another person. It's still a generator, so it's not like lifting a lunchbox, but compared with larger backup generators, this one is much easier to handle. It's around the 50-pound range, and the built-in handle makes a big difference when moving it from the garage to the truck or from the camper to the campsite. The packaging was also solid. Everything arrived well protected, with the generator held tightly in place. I liked that because heavier products can sometimes arrive looking like they had a rough trip, but this one came in clean and secure. Inside, the setup was pretty straightforward. The operating manual was easy enough to follow, and it also came with some tools and a spare spark plug, which is a nice little bonus to have on hand. One important thing I want to mention early: check the oil before starting it. Mine did not come ready to run with oil in it, and that's something you really don't want to overlook. It takes a small amount, less than half a liter, around 360 milliliters. So it's not a big deal, but it is absolutely something to do before the first start. I used good quality engine oil, added fuel, and after that it started quickly. The first start took a couple of pulls, which didn't bother me because it usually takes a moment for fuel to prime through. After that, it became a one-pull start most of the time. Once it was running, the noise level was one of the things that surprised me. I don't want to pretend it's silent because it's still a gas engine, and you will hear it. But compared with older, larger generators I've used before, this one is much easier to live with. It has more of a steady hum in the background, rather than that harsh, rattling generator sound that makes conversation annoying. For camping, backyard use, or working outside, that makes a real difference. I could have it running without feeling like it was ruining the whole atmosphere. For camping, this generator has been especially useful. I've used it with a small camper setup, and it handled the things I actually care about when I'm away from home: lights, charging phones, running a coffee maker, powering small appliances, and keeping fans going. I also used it with a camper air conditioning unit, including a 5000 BTU AC. And even in eco mode, it didn't seem to struggle. That was one of the moments where I started to feel like this little generator was more capable than it looks. In a 17-foot camp trailer setup, it was useful for things like the microwave, stereo, television and DVD player, outdoor lights, and charging devices. Of course, with any portable generator, I'm still mindful about what I plug in at the same time. I don't just overload it and expect it to do everything at once. But for normal camping use, it made the whole setup feel more comfortable. Morning coffee, lights at night, charged phones, and air conditioning when needed. That's exactly the kind of convenience I wanted. I also liked that I could transport it without dealing with strong gas smells inside the camper. That was something I was a little concerned about at first, but it wasn't an issue for me. Being able to pack it up, move it, and not worry about the whole camper smelling like fuel. Around the house, it has been handy in a different way. After going through outages from bad weather, I wanted something small enough to store easily, but useful enough to keep essentials going. This isn't a whole house generator, and I wouldn't treat it like one, but it can run important things like lights, phone chargers, a refrigerator, an electric cooler, and even a water pump depending on your setup. Having that kind of backup gives peace of mind. During an outage, even being able to keep the fridge cold, charge phones, use some lights, or run basic appliances can make a stressful situation much easier. I've also used it for yard work and projects around the house. It's nice when you don't want to drag extension cords everywhere, or when you're working farther away from an outlet. I've run power tools, hedge trimmers, drills, outdoor lights, and chargers with it. I even tested it with a heat gun, and when the load came on, the generator supplied power right away without hesitation. The auto idle feature is useful too, because with no load it settles down, and then responds when power is needed. One feature I appreciate more than I expected is the digital readout screen. It gives the generator a more modern feel, and I like being able to scroll through information instead of just guessing what's going on. The controls are simple, and I didn't feel like I needed to be mechanically gifted to get it started and use it properly. Fuel use has also been reasonable in my experience. I ran it for several hours while using tools and outdoor lights, and it didn't seem to burn through fuel quickly. I haven't treated it like a scientific fuel test from full to empty, but in normal use, it felt efficient enough that I wouldn't be worried about constantly refilling it on a camping trip or during a short outage. There are a few things to keep in mind. First, again, don't forget the oil. Second, while it's quiet for a generator, it is not silent. If you're expecting no sound at all, that's not realistic. Third, the 2400 watts rating can be a little misleading if you're planning to run heavy draw appliances. For example, a large space heater on the high setting may be too much for it to handle comfortably. This generator is best when you think of it as a portable power source for camping, tools, essential home backup items, and smaller appliances, not as a replacement for a large standby system. You'll also refill it more often than a bigger generator with a larger tank. That's part of the trade-off. You get something lightweight, compact, and easy to transport, but you don't get the same fuel capacity as a large unit. Overall, I think the ERAYAK 2400 watts portable inverter generator hits a really useful balance. It's small enough to move easily, quiet enough for camping and residential use, and capable enough for campers, tools, lights, chargers, refrigerators, and emergency backup needs. It's not perfect and it's not meant to power an entire house full of heavy appliances. But for the size and price, it feels like a practical and dependable generator to keep around. If you want something portable for camping, outages, backyard projects, or keeping essentials running when the power goes out, this is a solid option to consider. Just read the manual, add oil before starting, and be realistic about what you plug into it. If you have any questions about this product, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.